Okay, okay. Here we are. Welcome, welcome. Good people, as I am getting my space in order here. All right. Welcome to the weekly guided meditation. My name is Mike Sattel. I am a Buddhist meditation teacher. Each week I'm doing classes. We can do some sitting together. I give some guided instruction, a little bit of theory, a little bit of Buddhist psychology. This week's theme, we're going to be working with Shamatha Vipassana with the hindrances. Um, Not everybody's favorite subject. It's kind of like a take your medicine. Oftentimes, people come to meditation because they want to feel better, they want to feel good, they want all sorts of ideas that they may have about what a meditation should be. And the bell rings, they do some sitting, and then afterwards they say, "Wow, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. I must not be good at it." And I inquire a bit, well, what's happened that made you think you didn't do it right or that it wasn't good? And what they do is they describe essentially the classical hindrances were emerging. Oh, I was distracted and my body felt restless. And then I was just kind of like hating this over here. And I was just kind of fantasizing about this craving over here. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to throw in the towel. Well, guess what? You were doing it absolutely 100% correctly. Your mind settled enough so that you were able to, well, maybe not clearly see, but you were noticing the hindrances arising. The next step is to clearly see them for what they are. So, hindrances for people who are not versed in a Theravadan Buddhist background. Um, well, within that mode of thought in Theravada, there is a lot of talk about the path. Yeah, the path to awakening. You know, I am here in place A, and I want to get to here, place B. And this is the path that we take towards that process, that path towards awakening. So the hindrance is, it's the wall right in the middle, or maybe the roots and stones that we trip upon along the way that obscure the path, muddy the path, block the path, make it so that progress is difficult. And they are classically craving, aversion, unconsciousness. I like to say unconsciousness, classically, it's sloth and torpor. It's the experience of just kind of being sleepy, but I like to also talk about it as unconsciousness because it also, how shall we say, adds into that a way that our attention might want to avoid looking at a certain experience, which can also include becoming dissociative around in response to a certain sensory stimuli. So, craving the sense of I want that in a way that creates some discontent, aversion, that sense of I don't want that in a way that further inflames discontent, unconsciousness, so the sloth and torpor, as well as the mind just checking out. Restlessness of the body, that I can't stand this. How long is this going to take? I got that restless leg syndrome going. I need to get out of here. And that happens in the body as well as in the mind. And then doubt. And doubt is unique, I think, in a sense, because that really has a little bit more of a prototype of a personality view. I can't do this. This isn't right for me, or I'm doubting the path. There's this a little bit more fuller sense of a personality view that's happening. But either way, the wind leaves the sails. I can't do this. Yeah. So those are the classical hindrances. Um, the problem with them is that, well, from different points of view, um, from a Buddhist psychology view of dependent origination, they seem to be the seeds from which self view arises. Yeah. If you have some experience that you are going through and you don't like it, there's this aversion that arises. You want some other experience more. There's this craving. Why can't I have this? I really don't like that. That roils up some frustration of restlessness, and it all comes together, and then we act out. Whether that it's just subtly, we just kind of disconnect and we don't like something, we just kind of, taking my ball and going home, or we act out in some way where let's see, we can say or do something that we regret later on. Yeah. So is that sense of it's the springboard from where a lot of our actions come from, that also perpetuate a sense of discontent or suffering, as it were. So we're going to be working with them. Joyous day. Again, a lot of people don't like working with it, but it's a necessity in a lot of ways, because going back to the title of Shamatha Vipassana with the hindrances, that shamatha, that calm abiding, it correlates with the concentration component of the practice. And rather than the Western view of concentration as nose to the grindstone, that sense of that strong striving, efforting, it's in the Buddhist view, the concentration is the mind in its natural state, devoid of the hindrances. Yeah. So, if we can become clearer about the presence of them and relate to them in a way that they go into remission, yeah, that's a little bit more of a mature way of looking at shamatha in that respect. Yeah? So, it's not just cultivating calm for the sake of calmness, but creating the conditions for the hindrances to go into remission. And by that extension, a little bit of vipassana, of a little bit of kind of sussing out, and a little bit of intentionally relating to them in a way where the features of the dukkha anicca anatta, the inherent discontent, the non-identification, and the relating to them in a way where they can fade away and cease. Yeah. So we're going to be mixing it all up in that way, and really, I can't underscore how important this is, and at the same time, um, it's the stuff people don't want to do. Howsoever, if you become a master of the hindrances, um, wow, imagine going through the day without being pushed or pulled by fighting against the experience of the circumstances of your life, yet rather being able to move forward calmly, openly. That'd be a good place. All right, so let's do this. Allow yourself to come to a comfortable, upright position. Okay, straightening up and settling in. And to the best of your ability, I do I encourage you to rest into stillness. The more still we can keep the body, the more we can notice the subtleties of our experience. And these hindrances, oh, they can be subtle. However, they can slowly distort our perception and drive our behavior. So, the more still we can be, the more the subtlety of our experience can become apparent. So, the straightening up and settling in, we can just keep on doing that. Notice the tensions in the body. You can even sweep through the body. Notice what's in the face, neck, shoulders, throat, chest. Whatever muscular tensions you can intentionally relinquish, let go of, please do so. Working down the arms, the mid, lower back, around the ribs and belly. Noticing what you're holding and letting go. Down the hips, over the legs, working down towards your feet. Whatever it is you can intentionally relinquish, do so. So we can see this interplay of stillness, discerning, and relinquishing. Remember that. We can begin to really lean into a shamatha object. That is to say, an object of focus that you can place your attention on that is stable, ideally remotely pleasant to do so. You could be leaning into external sound, just free floating within feel space of the body. I'll be giving guidance on a more narrow focus on breath. But as our attention can land upon this stable object, that is to say, it's always present, it can help to stabilize attention. The more that we can notice the pleasant attributes it has, we tend to enjoy it more. That brings all the strands of attention together, focused on a singular activity, gathering and placing the mind. Really lean in. The more we can be present with each nuance of breath, the more we can notice the arising of pleasant feel tones associated with breathing. On that in breath, what is present, lean into that. Joyful hedonic tone, oxygen, pleasure of air needs being met. Whatever it is for you, discern and appreciate. And the top of the in breath, that natural pause between inhaling and exhaling. What's there for you? A pleasant fullness, another expression of a pleasant hedonic tone, a wakefulness, a curiosity, a openness, whatever it is for you, notice it, appreciate it. That out breath, natural relaxation response, relinquishing, letting go. Tend to be general themes, but whatever it is for you, notice and appreciate. The base of the out breath between the bottom of the exhale and inhaling again. What's there for you? A settledness, a stability, an equanimity, a tranquility. Whatever it is, notice and appreciate. Okay. So maybe it's not all pleasant feel tone sensations. Maybe if we widen this focus to include this full feeling form of the body, and allow your attention to just free float within the space of the body, like the hummingbird in the garden going from flower to flower, or fish in the aquarium checking out something here, noticing something there. You can zoom out, zoom in, broader, narrower focus, whatever works for you, moment by moment. What is present? Are you abiding along in acceptance and equanimity of this present moment? Or if you're not experiencing this as the perfect moment, then maybe there's some expression of the hindrances taking place somewhere. Craving, aversion, unconsciousness, restlessness, doubt. So we're leaning into this discerning theme, free floating in the body, discerning the presence of the hindrances. And if there ain't nothing, appreciate the neutrality or the acceptance, the equanimity. And if they're not there, it's a clue that there's some hindrances. Maybe it helps. Maybe it helps with this theme of discernment. When you contact a hindrance, label it. Moment by moment, what are you primarily aware of? Craving, aversion, unconsciousness, restlessness, doubt. And if none of those are there, what is there? Neutrality, equanimity, some preferable abiding. Whatever label you want to give to that, use that. So as I'm hanging out, it might sound something like this: aversion, craving, doubt, restlessness, and aversion, equanimity, and so on like that. It's okay to guess. It's okay to be late. It's okay to not be sure. Parentheses, that's doubt. Okay, good. So part of this is the discernment, the knowing what has taken place. Next part of this is what is the response? How are we reacting to this? Unconsciously fueling it with more hindrances? I suggest having a meta response. That is to say, if you can just imbue, flood this feeling form of the body with a bit more kindness, flood this feeling form of the body with a bit more acceptance, equanimity. When you're aware of the aversion, rather than meeting it with more aversion, can you extend a bit of compassion towards that which is hurting in you? When you're aware of craving, rather than meeting it with more craving, let's meet it with a bit of acceptance in a way that we are also letting it be. We can appreciate the good vibes, but that equanimity is also there so that we can let go. We can notice the fading away and going of that craving. So the metta response. Continue to contact and label the various hindrances, but let's slow down that frame rate. Contact one, hang out with it a little bit longer, and targetedly apply kindness, acceptance, compassion, appreciation, whatever feels available. We're cultivating metta as a response to the noticing of the hindrances. If you need a little help or support in that, reconnecting with the breath too, all that work they were doing earlier, sensitizing ourselves to the presence of any pleasant qualities, pleasant feel tones associated with breath. Sometimes that can get the pump flowing, give a little bit more access to the qualities of kindness, compassion, appreciation, and equanimity. It can feel sometimes like maybe there's a shifting or a figure ground reversal. Reconnecting with the breath to stabilize, attuning to the cultivation of metta in response. Those themes can become a little bit more dominant. Maybe the hindrances are settling in a little bit, settling down a little bit. If that's the case, appreciate that as well. That can help keep this positive feedback loop going. Yeah, so we're opening up and going into the hindrances, then cultivating this wise response, cultivating this wise response of metta as a response. We can just notice, potentially, ideally, the hindrances fading away as we take our time to hang out a little bit longer, infusing in with metta. You can notice a wave of craving fading, a knot of aversion easing and dissipating, maybe a background restlessness settling and easing. As the metta response gains momentum, appreciate the fading away and cessation of the various waves of hindrances. And if there's no hindrances there, or they're just quieted down, can we just abide? Abide in equanimity, acceptance, openness, appreciating this feeling form of the body as being a vessel of metta, whatever flavor or whatever metta adjacent quality. Appreciate, appreciate and abide in that goodness. And if the occasional hindrance rears its head again, you know what to do. Meeting it with this metta response, observing, appreciating its fading away in cessation. Okay, very good. Now feel free to drop any technique, drop any efforting. If you'd like, you can open up this focus to a broader, more spacious awareness, not held, bound by breath, by the feeling form of the body. Just open up to whatever sense of spaciousness, awareness. Let's drop all technique, all formal technique at least. However, you may notice certain themes that you may have cultivated during this time still moving on their own in terms of what you may be sensitized to, what may be present, how you may be responding non intentionally, and what and how you may be perceiving self and world. In a sense, we're shifting from the efforting and meditation to grace, letting go of all technique, just allow whatever themes to do their own thing, abiding in this open awareness, just yielding, allowing, going with, allowing the meditation to do you. Appreciating any flavors of concentration that may be present. Open, spacious, vast, compassionate, equanimous, unperturbed and unperturbable. Settling in continues. Again, abiding in this open, compassionate, wise, awake, discerning, spacious awareness. The hindrances may still pop up here and there, as the thoughts, the fantasies, the daydream may as well. That all takes place within this spaciousness. Maybe because of the momentum of what you've generated thus far, the hindrance may take root less, may more easily move on its own towards fading away in cessation. It can be self liberating in that way. Continue to discern and appreciate. That helps to keep us awake when we're abiding in a wider, spacious, less effortful awareness. at ease. So, um, to go over the cliff notes, what we did there started off with shamatha object, something that was stable, pleasant, in this case, breath. It's a very traditional way of working, noticing not merely the mechanical entering and exiting of, but noticing also the pleasant field tone that helps to gather the various strands of attention together so we can build a deeper attention, deeper samadhi, deeper concentration, deeper, more absorptive focus. Well, that's what we're working towards. And then we began to go into this free floating awareness into the body, noticing the presence of the hindrances, craving, aversion, unconsciousness, restlessness, doubt. Then we went into a Mahasi style labeling thereof. Yeah. So there could be those hindrances, or if there's not, then what's present? Neutrality and equanimity and acceptance and okayness, something even more pleasant. Great. Throw that into your labeling. I trust your inherent wisdom to know how to adapt the technique to whatever your experience is. Then, after the discerning, we're noticing what the response was. Is it more? Does craving met with more craving? Is aversion met with more aversion? They tend to proliferate and multiply, so to speak. So then we went into this idea of a metta response. So, metta is shorthand for the four qualities of the Brahma Viharas: loving kindness, friendliness, equanimity, compassion, and um, appreciative joy. So, oftentimes that's expressed towards others, expressed towards the well-being of all beings across all times and all locations. But what we're doing here is we're using it as cultivating skillful mental states in order to uh, create the conditions for the remission of the hindrances. Yeah. So if there's this aversion that wants to outward, instead we're meeting it with this equanimity, acceptance that it's there, and also a little bit more of a surgically applied uh, compassion. There's a part of us that's hurting because of whatever aversion is taking place. Can we have a little bit of opening and softening around that experience? Yeah. So, applying this meta awareness, here comes the hindrance, applying or having some degree of meta awareness. So we're slowing down our frame rate and just leaning into what we're cultivating in response. Then, as time went, then maybe that cultivating meta began to have its own momentum, and it's becomes a little bit more of abiding in a field of metta within the body. And then we're noticing the hindrances slowly more moving towards the fading away and cessation. Yeah. So something comes into being, passes away from being. Can we notice the passing away from being? Facet. Yeah. And then from there, we started to open into non efforting, non technique, open spacious awareness. So that cultivating of that meta response, that's what I really I didn't talk about on the front end, but on the back end there, I think that's the game changer. Yeah. So because we cannot have full say in what the conditions are that arise in each moment that we navigate. And we may be inclined through deep patternings to just respond, react in a particular way. Some of us are more inclined to be very craving oriented. Others of us may be a little bit more, how shall we say, aversion oriented or restless, what have you. So to know that those patterns are there, and again, from Buddhist psychology point of view, there's the path factor and the eightfold path of right view. So the wrong view in this respect means when we identify with our suffering, and that becomes our locus of our identity as well as our directive of how to engage the world. Yeah, that's wrong view in that way. And unfortunately, that's how so much of the world exists. Right view in this respect, in the Eightfold Path, is really to be able to discern clearly what is taking place within that dukkha, within that discontent, clearly seeing it for what it is. And if we can see its origination, it's coming into being, we can see it's passing away from being, the fading away, the cessation. Yeah. So looking or being within our experience with such an openness, such a discernment to allow this to take place, but that helps us to gain more objectivity and allow these sensations to rise and pass without them coagulating into a self view, so to speak. So, takeaway lesson, a little bit of homework, meta response, regardless of what takes place. If you like it, you don't like it, you're spacing out. Notice there's some hindrances happening. And can you generate an appropriate meta response? I think that about does it. Again, my name is Mike Sotelo. If you have any questions, comments, on my YouTube channel there, I have contact information. Feel free to connect. I have a morning meditation group that I do throughout the week. We'll have upcoming retreats and other activities. And of course, always open to field any one on one mentoring questions you may have. Now, let's end with a dedication of merit. By the merits of these acts and other such virtues, may we attain an awakening for the benefit of all beings. We bow before those that come before us, after us, and to those who walk beside us on the path. All right. See you next time around.